8:30. At this time, I'll call the January 12th meeting of the West Memphis Utility Commission to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the December 8th meeting minutes. You received them in our packet. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Brown.
Second.
Second, Mr. Smith. Any additions or deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is the December safety report.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Our numbers, currently we're at 221 days without a lost time injury, and 210 from our last recordable. For 2022, we had 3 injuries. So our incident rate for the year, which will be ending in December, was a 4.1. And so far in 2023, we're at 0. Our December safety training, or monthly, is titled Take Safety With You. It means driving defensively, using your seat belts in your vehicles, applying safe practices at home, including, I like this one, including wearing safety shoes when mowing the lawn. How many people do that? But that's, where we need to be thinking. Wearing safety eyewear while hammering nails, using lighter fluid to start charcoal grills, not gasoline. See, you use gasoline?
No way.
I don't understand that one either.
That's a
but-
problem there.
But it's about developing a habit of thinking about safety during a work shift, on the way home, at home, on vacation, pretty much whatever you're doing. And to think about it before you start a job, and then when you go to do something potentially dangerous, and I would think that using the gas situation would be real dangerous. But just lighting a gas burner or jump starting a vehicle, putting safety equipment on, making sure your machine guards are in place. Ask yourself these questions. Do I know the safety procedures for the job task? Are they adequate? Do I really understand them? What personal protective equipment do I need? Is it in good condition? Is it adequate? And then what tools or other equipment do I need to do the job safely? Are they the correct ones? Are they in good condition? Are there other risks to my safety or the safety of others? What happens if something jumps off quickly or unexpectedly? Do I know how to respond to keep from getting injured? So the moral of it is, how often should we have thoughts about safety, and that's constant. All right, so here's our injury comparison over, I think this is 8 years. I'm going to try. We're at the top in that brown, which is not showing up real good, but for our recordables, as you can see in that trend there, that 4 or 5 is kind of where we stayed. So we did a little better in 2022. We only had 3 recordables. Where we really have made a lot of improvement is here, the lost time days. Initially, as you can see, we had numerous days of people off work due to injuries. And then this one that we had this year broke a 952-day streak without any lost time. And so as you can see, there was a hiccup there, but you got basically 5 years there that don't have a whole lot of lost time days in it. And to me, that's reflecting that we're still having injuries. I mean, we're going to have those 3 to 5, looks like. But our injuries are not severe anymore. It's not requiring people to be off work. And so our incident rate also went down a little bit to a 4.1 with only 3 injuries. So I think we're still progressing. It's kind of slowed a little bit, and we're back on track to get that number back up to break that 952 day record. So, and that's all I've got. Anybody got any questions?
Hey, Brett.
Yes.
Just because the lower ones, even though, like the 19, it was a traffic accident, was it?
What's 19?
That was red. that year.
Yes, those two big ones right there were motor vehicles.
They are motor vehicle accidents, not actually, which is, I guess, something, you know, we do every day and probably take for granted. I think all of us do that just in our everyday driving.
There's more variables there.
Yeah, yeah, and it, like that, not directly doing their job, something happened where, you know.
But you also have to remember now that these recordables, like one of those three, is poison ivy. You know, contracting poison ivy and having to get shots. To get rid of the poison ivy, you get that shot and that needle stick, that's a recordable. So, I mean, we still have the small things happen. That's why I said we're probably gonna be in that 3 to 5.
Is there like an industry ranking to where we rank with utilities our size?
I actually have been sending off that information to APPA just for the electric side of things. This year, our numbers there are looking really good because I can knock the 3 down to a 2. And all they want is just the electrical employees. So it's not a utility as a whole so much as how they look at it. It would be water and sewer, and then it would also be electric. Yes, the labor department has statistics on all of them separately, but kind of looking forward to the APPA one because this is 4 years now. We potentially could get recognized with so few employees and comparing those worked hours amongst that only 2 entries.
I just want to compliment you because the business we're in has high potential for injury. You know, we're either in a hole or on the pole or around stuff.
Yeah, the scope of work we do is vast.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any other comments? Next item on the agenda is personnel update.
All right, we had no resignations in the month of December, and we had one new hire that started towards the end of the month. It's actually, this one new hire in the electric department was a rehire he had left the city, I think earlier last year, and with the changes that we made to the tree trimming scales and stuff, he's an experienced tree trimmer that we were then able to bring back and get back on staff. So we have 2 open positions, one of them in that department. One of them is an electrical lineman's position, and the other one, we now have 3 people on our tree trimming crew, so we're down 1 there. The water department is still missing 4. We continue to get applications. I turned them over to Michael Lamb for review, and he just has not found the people he feels comfortable with hiring. I guess it's a good thing or a bad thing. Mike knows everybody in the city, so he knows their work ethic, and Mike, as y'all know, has a pretty strong work ethic and was looking for those kind of people. The plant, that opening is a mechanic's position that we've recently just reposted. We were leaving it empty, but because of the shortages across both departments over at City Shop and over at our place, I went ahead and reposted this also. The engineering department, that's one of the areas that we've got to figure out. Technical, again, when I say technical, highly technical education-wise, engineering, it's tough, but hopefully, we have a May graduation date coming up here. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of these. Plus, as y'all know, this is actually the assistant general manager's position, works in the engineering department. So we will be posting that job to start looking for somebody, and they'll be required to have a PE. And so we'll be doing that very shortly to hopefully be able to fill that. Any questions? The one area that I think we still need to work on as far as job descriptions, the water department, at the end of last year, me and Brett have talked. I'm going to come up with a way that I want to present to y'all where the guys who have the skills, the hands-on skills, I'm rewarding, okay, in some manner. But then if you're getting your license, I'm rewarding you more. In other words, there's a bigger incentive to get your license, but then there's also a reward for those who can do the job but maybe cannot pass the license test, okay? We've got some really good guys down there that are just, we went over stuff, their tests have gotten better, but they still are struggling to pass those tests. But they come to work every day, they're down in that hole working, they know how to do the job. It's just sometimes passing those tests to have those certifications. And I think we need to have it so where those guys, where I'm not hiring a brand new person that does not have the skills, is making the same amount that a guy that does have the skills. There needs to be a little bit of separation there, okay? But if you don't go get your license, or if you get your license, then I'm going to reward you more. Because again, we need to make sure we have some incentive for those guys to go get their licensing. Because if we ever get to a point where we don't have anybody without licensing, we're in trouble. The stakes will come in. You have to have somebody on staff with their licenses in order to actually do the work in the field. It is required by the state.
Todd,
Yes, ma'am.
what part of the test seems to be the greatest challenge for them? Is it, because I don't know what content.
I know. I tell you what, let's do this. I would say they just recently tested in December, okay? We should be getting back where they break it down per category area, okay? That shows where what they passed and what they missed, okay? So let's get those back and let me get back with you. I can tell you, most of them struggle with the math stuff, okay? But again, if you know the content of the other material, the math is how many questions, Brett? 15?
It might be 10.
Might be 10. It's 10 to 15 questions. So there's 100 questions. So just missing those, if you miss every math question, you still potentially have the chance to make an 85. But it hurts you because you basically, if I miss every one of them, then I only have this much of a margin. So let's go and get those tests back from that, and let's break it down and see where their areas are. And let me get back with you on that in February.
Because you did say that you, is this a group where you are allowing them to have some time off or something?
We were actually bringing them once a week.
For 9 weeks.
For 9 weeks, we went in the afternoon, once a week. They literally spent all afternoon going through a correspondence course that we ordered from it's California State University, and that is some of the recommended study material that the state says, hey, study this material, this will, if you study this and know this, you should be able to pass the test. So that is the material we used to study from. We went through the whole book and literally chapter by chapter and went over study questions, went through they actually provided us like study questions, study guide questions at the end of each chapter that they reviewed. I know Brett went through and had PowerPoint slides, videos of pump operations. They went through and, okay, here's the question, what's the answer? Here's what the answer is, let's find it in the book and actually point to it in the book and understand why the answer is the answer. So
is there timing, test has to be taken in a certain period of time, I assume?
it's 3 hours though. None of them use their whole time.
Okay.
It's not an ACT where I got 60 math questions in 60 minutes and I better answer every question in 1 minute. If I take longer than a minute on one, I'm now behind. And at the end, I'm just going B, 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 B. You know. Again, some of it is, I know one of the guys came back and he said some of the stuff I got confused on was pumps. Because we only deal with one type of pump. Well, when they're asking questions about a whole bunch of different types of pumps, he said, so he realized, hold it, I need to go back and study pumps. So, you know.
And this testing is for the whole United States. That's the thing, is that it has to cover something other than just well water and kind of the simplified form of the way we get our water and treat it. So it's a lot of material. It's a lot of material. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's so much that you have to retain. It doesn't have anything to do with maybe what we do here for the utilities that makes the test hard.
Because they don't do it every day. It's stuff that I literally got to read it and understand what they're saying and be able to comprehend what they're saying without being something that I apply to my job every day. So that's, I think, where some of the struggles are. Because as Brett said, this testing is a recognized test across the state and including Canada. So.
It's North America.
It's North American. So basically, when you get a license in Arkansas, you can almost go to a whole nother state and reciprocate into that other state.
And it's not a state license, it's a federal license.
No, it's a state license, but just like a wastewater license, you can go to that state and say, hey, I have this license in Arkansas. Can I get this reciprocated, so now I have this state's license, and they'll look at what the requirements were for that state. And because this test is a recognized test across the country, most of the time it gets recognized as basically being able to cross over to other states.
Well, something I noticed in the newsletter, that we recognize this gentleman.
We did. Philip Scott Marshall. I don't know if Susan Marshall's son. We hired him. He's been with us a year, little has it been a year? Okay, he's been with us, I think, over a year. I can tell you, he has a college education. His math skills are very good. He does have a technical background, and he actually has his T4 and D4 license now. So he just took his D4 and passed it. That's the distribution 4 license. He had previously taken the T4, which is the treatment 4. So he is now capable of operating any water facility within the state of Arkansas, because that is the highest level we can get. So he basically has the same licensing that myself and Mr. Andrew Bass, who runs the water treatment facility, has. So again, though, that's talking to him and asking him, hey, distribution you know, when you get up to the D4, they're thinking about you potentially being a supervisor. You need to know more than, like, they ask questions about financial statements. You know, what's your cost per gallon, including your depreciation costs, okay? Most of the guys, though, that are the other guys that are testing might see one little question on that, but most of the questions on the D1 and D2, which are the lower level, are operational stuff about I'm the guy out there working on it. Any other questions? Personnel? All I got.
That's all we got. I would like to recognize, I know most of you know, Tracy Cat is our new council liaison. And he's been around. He's in his first rodeo. Anything else? Mrs. Brown? Have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Brown?
Second.
All in favor, have a second, all in favor? Aye. Yeah, I was strong. Thank everybody for being here, and I wish you a happy new year and a prosperous new year.